billion people on the earth. So we take up a lot of space and put a lot of pressure on the natural land. And maybe we need things out of the land. You know, we need wood, right, to build things, you know, but we also have to be thinking like, do we want to cut down all the trees? Probably not. Do we want to cut down trees that have other animals and things dependent on them? So we just got to make better decisions. So I'm going to take some blocks out. We're going to talk about some of those. And then we're going to think about how we could make our world a little stronger, because it's going to be your world. You know, how can you make it stronger too? So let's just right away, we'll just kind of poke around. So here comes a little snake. So the snake doesn't represent just one snake. It represents a lot of reptiles in the world. Maybe we're taking animals. Maybe we're trading or buying animals. Because that's a big problem with animals that are rare. We use them for sale. So some places have an exotic snake, and then they go and those poor people are taking that snake, selling it, and we end up with that snake in a pet store, and we go, oh, we like that snake. But you have to really think, like, where did it come from? Was it born here? We call it captive in captivity, or are we getting this snake from another place? So not just one snake, but maybe many snakes or animals that come that way. Same thing with this little seahorse. It's really fun to have an aquarium, isn't it? And look at little seahorses if you had that, but you know what? The seahorses really belong in the ocean. Or, unless they're born in captivity, then in an aquarium, maybe that could happen. But anyway, you can see how a lot of animals are made, they're actually products. And we kill things because we don't really understand them too. And we overfish. So let's take this little fish out right here. And this doesn't represent one fish, but maybe all the tuna. Maybe there's a lot of ocean on the earth, isn't there? But we're actually kind of overfishing a lot of it. We have to be really careful of that. And we have to make some rules and some laws and take care of that. Because we're up here, we're the ones that are supposed to be responsible for all of this. Okay? So we take the fish out. What else could we take out? Oh, here we go. Somebody told me that this is a dangerous thing to eat. Not the animals. The orangutan. Who did the orangutan?
Me.
Okay. What's the problem with orangutans these days? Do you know anything about them?
No.
They're losing their habitat.
Oh, yeah.
And what is habitat? Yes.
Their area where they live.
Yes. And so that's the biggest problem, I think, with most of the animals and plants on the earth is we're just taking over their habitat. And we might be taking it over to plant things that we eat, you know. But sometimes the habitat's very important, especially if there's not only one animal, but lots of animals.
Wait, can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Don't
Right now
touch
we do
anything.
not want to lose cheeses. First of all, can bees really die out?
Can bees really die out?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're using insecticides and things like that that
But
hurt
like
them.
farmers, like there's tons of bees in the wild next to farms. The farmers don't want to do that, do they?
No, they want the bees there.
Yeah, so it's impossible for the bees to die out.
Well, not if the farmers are spraying maybe the wrong stuff on their crops that injure the bees.
Are
And
you
there's laws
sure?
that, I'm positive. Anyway, so there's laws that kind of protect things too. And so in Europe, they use a different insecticide than they do here. And we're having kind of a debate and a discussion about the certain kinds of insecticides we use. So the bees are a little bit in trouble these days. Here's some plants and animals that we're pulling out. Let's see. Here's just an insect, you know, butterflies. Does anybody know about monarch butterflies?
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with monarchs these days?
Monarchs, they since they're bright colors, that warns predators that because of their blue wings and their blue back, it tells them that it's poisonous. And there's another butterfly that looks like it too.
Right, that mimics
And
it.
also, these are actually going extinct.
Well, we're trying to say that we're making some rules. But you're right, and the monarchs are kind of in trouble right here, in our time, right now, because again, we're spraying the sides of the roads with some kind of called a herbicide, and they only land and reproduce on a little plant called the milkweed. And so they've been doing it for millions of years, actually, and now we need to kind of help them out because their numbers are kind of going down. And you know, if I pull out this little tree over here, I'm not pulling out one tree. I might be pulling out like a part of the rainforest. Maybe that represents thousands of trees in one place. And just by taking out thousands of trees, of course, lots of animals, and as we read, 10 to 30 different animals and species depend on on those trees. So again, a big loss of habitat, which really takes things really good. Evan.
Okay, first of all, I just thought of another reason why bees can't die out.
Well, you know what, you and I...
Why are they're in a beehive?
Yeah, well,
And
there's wild bees
how
too.
would, and like, some live on top of a mountain they'll never reach. Think about that.
Here's
So
one.
bees can't die out.
Well, I'll argue with you later, but let me continue. So saltwater crocodiles, you know, some people use these or would get them because maybe they use it as a product, maybe a handbag or something to make products out of their skins. So that can be a problem for animals too. You know, and I could keep going along
What's
here
he gonna
and
do
pulling
now?
things out, and then we can see how far I can go before our world gets a little more shaky. And I think that's what it says up here is that how many blocks can we pull out before the pyramid falls down? Nobody really knows. Scientists don't understand all the complicated links between all the animals. And we can be sure of one thing: if we keep pulling the blocks out, we're going to suffer for it. So we want a strong world. So let's reverse this a minute. How could we put more blocks in? What would we have to do? What do you think we can do? Plant more trees? Absolutely, because that provides habitat.
Also get rid of pesticides.
Or make some rules. Okay, so she's got two things, you know, not get rid of them because farmers need those too, but maybe make them safer for the environment. You know, think about those things. So we could put some blocks back in and make our pyramid stronger just from habitat and maybe some laws, you know, that would help us. And you guys soon, because are you 8 or 9 years old right now?
I'm almost 10.
Almost 10.
Next year.
Well, it's not that many years away when you're going to be voters yourself, and you can be making decisions too. And you can also work as young kids right now. You can join organizations. You know, you can write letters. You can do all those things. I was reading this last night. I get a lot of wildlife stuff, so here's a little natural history magazine. And this is a girl. She's at the aquarium looking at a turtle, sea turtle. And she found out that sea turtles are in real trouble because they eat plastic, and there's a lot of plastic in the ocean that we really need to take care of. And plastic bags go down rivers, end up in the ocean, the sea turtle eats it, then they end up dying. So she ended up doing a project, and so she wrote this letter. And she said, I want to help raise money and awareness to reduce the use of plastic bags. So I chose to make and sell reusable bags and donate the money to the Sea Turtle Rescue. And she goes on and said that she raised $1,500 by selling little bags to people and telling them about the trouble the turtles would have. So you don't have to be older, you can be young and do all kinds of amazing things too. So if you look at this, it's still pretty strong. We just don't know how many blocks. Now these blocks over here, these aren't even connected anymore, so maybe that makes them not part of the whole pyramid.
Can I
So
say something?
yes.
If we were to get the bees, there's one thing we would have to do. Take out another tree.
Take out another tree?
Yeah, because like, how are we going to reach to them?
I don't know.
Think about
I
that.
really don't know. And you know what? I'm glad you're concerned about the bees. Because they're essential. What's that? Giraffe? You know, if I took out the giraffe, I'm glad you said that. So, why don't you guys move for a minute so people can see. If I took out the giraffe, the whole thing will probably fall down. But that's the interesting thing about the pyramid. Because we don't know something way across the ocean, way somewhere, we don't know, we'll never see maybe a polar bear. Maybe we'll never see a little insect that lives in Africa. But that could be the thing that would, all of a sudden it goes extinct, and it makes the whole pyramid kind of shift and maybe get unstable or switch. Yeah, your favorite to squid. So lots of things that we don't really see might be very important also.
Can we take down the squid?
I don't know, where's Mr. Squid here? Yeah, you know what? It looks like it's a major part of the pyramid here. I don't think I can pull it out safely. You know what I mean?
No,
You think I can? I can pull out the ladybug next to it. Another pollinator, huh?
That's a good one. Wait, how many bugs have we taken out?
I don't know, we took out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So, you know, there we are. But our job and your job is to rebuild the pyramid and make it strong. So it's just a model, it's a representation of the real world. Anybody have any questions before we move on? Yes, way in the back, real loud.
It's not really a question, but
Okay.
it's a fact.
A fact.
World almost came extinct, but now there's over 100 wolves living.
Something about the wolves? Yes, you know what, and the wolves, what they ended up doing is they ended up shooting all the wolves, and there weren't any wolves in Yellowstone Park. But then they found out that the wolves were really a major part of the park because the elk and the deer started eating all of the bushes along, am I right about this, John?
Yes.
And they overate things, and then other animals didn't survive. And so when they reintroduced the wolves about 20 years ago, and this organization that I'm wearing this shirt is called Defenders of Wildlife, they went to the courts and said, hey, it's against the law to do that. We need the wolves back in there. And they were very important about putting them back in there. Since that time, now everything's better. You know, I mean, there's more wildlife everywhere just because of the wolves coming back into the world. Raise your hand. Let me ask you a question. When you see a movie, though, and you see wildlife things, I'm sure you watch Discovery Channel, and when you see the rabbit that's running along, and all of a sudden there's something chasing it, a lynx or a coyote or something, do you ever root for the rabbit? Do you want him to get away?
Yes.
You do? Or are you okay with it being eaten?
Okay, baby.
Raise your hand if you're okay with it being eaten. Raise your hand if you don't want it to be eaten. Yeah, I know, you know what, we love rabbits, I understand that. But you know what, that's the way the world works. There's a lot of rabbits, just like there's a lot of rats and mice, and there's animals that eat them, so it's all balanced out. Without us, it goes along kind of perfectly. You know, but then since we're up here now, we've got to take that responsibility.
Do the squid take the squid?
Well, I think people probably, I don't know if people hunt squid, but their habitat might be, you know, affected by other animals down where they live being taken away.
There's a lot of videos that people are showing like people killing other animals just to get their fur and make really dumb stuff with faces.
Stupid, yeah. Elephants, all kinds of things like that.
Rhinos, they rip
terrible.
off their horns.
They're the horn. Tigers for something inside them. I think some kind of organ that people drink something and think they're more powerful for. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So if you're ever somewhere and you don't want to buy an animal product, I'm glad you brought that up.
I want a bunny.
You want a what?
A bunny.
A bunny? Okay, you can probably get one at a pet store. It's been, yes.
Well, I want a rat.
People use a lot of giraffe skin in Africa.
That would be another animal product.
They kill a lot of giraffes for their skin since they like their spot.
Right, and tigers and leopards and all of those animals that have beautiful, beautiful coats. That's what's happened to them. Well, listen, you know what? You guys have been great, and I appreciate you helping me. I hope you go home and share your model. Okay, bring this home. You try to explain it to your parents, because they probably don't know about it. But you know what? I brought some pictures of animals.